What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the SPY, the NASDAQ, the QQQs, and the futures, break down what the charts are telling us and what you should be watching for, and why on earth the market might get a bit of a bounce before we do end up seeing more downside later on. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, which each could be worth up to $3,000. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 days. Make sure you check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. When it comes to earnings coming out, we have a bunch of very big companies. We have OXY. We also have Zoom. We also have MKS. We have Target. We have AMC. We have Rivian. We have Neo, Wendy's, Lowe's. A bunch of big earnings for retail over the next week. I do want to note that I think AMC, Target, and Neo are going to be big ones. AMC just announced that they actually have their popcorn coming out. That could actually help with building revenue and getting them closer to profitability. Target is going to be very interesting. A lot of eyes are going to be on this to see how retail companies are doing. Then we also have Neo. Neo is going to be an interesting one as well, not to mention Costco and Best Buy. Now, I also want to note that for the week, we saw Canada's largest pension cuts their Apple stake by 85%. They sold a lot of Apple and they started buying into Tesla, Neo, Li Auto, and a lot of EVs. They're seeing lots of bullish price action for EVs. I think that's going to be the section to watch for the week. So anyways, let's talk about what's going on in the markets, all right? Right now, SPY got a really nice drop to this 393 level. We're overall respecting this very, very keen looking patterns for the time being, and I do believe that we're likely going to see us continue to push to this 398 level. I believe whether it's tomorrow or the day after, the market's going to get a really nice bounce, maybe tomorrow, likely tomorrow, and we're going to try to fill these gaps that we formed temporarily before we do see more downside later on. I believe SPY is set to do that. I do believe we are going to see a small bounce before we see more downside after that, and we see the market get smacked down once again. AMC, I think she's going to be very bullish. She's getting very tight, and she's likely going to try to push to the sevens. I think she will try one last big push going into earnings before she does react. Typically, after earnings, AMC does tend to slow down, so please be prepared for that. But I do think AMC is going to try it. Neo is likely going to see a nice push up as well. It's between two key levels. That's 9 to 9.13, and then we have 9.9 to about 10. Neo is likely going to bounce here and try to fill this gap over the next couple of days to get to about $10 in my opinion. The same thing with the triple Q. It's likely going to try to bounce and get all the way up to about 296 or so. I believe that Tesla could help it also push up because I'm very bullish on Tesla. I think Tesla is going to break out pretty hard starting tomorrow. It's not just going to fill its gap around 201. It's going to continue to push even higher and try to get back to the supply zone because of Investor Day on March 1st. So I'm pretty bullish for the short term. Once again, guys, for the medium term, I'm still bearish for mid-March. Going into like April, I'm still more bearish for that period. But before we end up coming down, I think the market's going to bounce like I said. The VIX is likely going to get dragged down to fill this gap, thanks to the market essentially pushing up somewhat before this thing bounces and starts to continue with the uptrend. The overall trend is still bullish on the VIX as it's got this breakout. So I do think the VIX is going to come down a bit. The market's going to bounce. Then the VIX is going to bounce and start pushing up. Then the market starts coming down later on. For something else like, let's see, Meta, in my opinion, is a very good short. I think Meta is going to try to bounce to fill its gap, get to the low 170s, 175 zone, then get a rejection and continue to downtrend as it's getting closer to filling the gap, taking it all the way down to the 150s. I do believe that's likely going to happen. For Microsoft, same thing. I'm seeing Microsoft potentially bouncing, trying to get above 152. Then it's going to push for 155. Break that, it might go a little higher. 155, not 155, 255. Sorry about that, guys. 255, try to break to that area. Then it's going to try to go for more of these gap fills. I don't know if it's going to get to 260. I am seeing the mid to low 250s before it does see more downside later on. Apple, it's going to see something very similar, a nice push up to almost 150, followed by more downside after that. Then we also have the dollar index continuing to break out, continuing to push up, telling me that the medium term for the markets is bearish. And finally, we have last but not least, the 10-year Treasury yield. This is also, in my opinion, starting to look a little bit more bullish as time goes on. Before this thing gets the breakout, I think it's going to come down to fill this gap as the market pushes up. Then it's going to bounce off this 38 level around the 38 and continue pushing. We have some very strong resistance around 39 to 40. So I do think we have to watch this zone carefully, but I do believe it's going to break out of this and continue going for these gap fills in the like 40s. I'm actually pretty bullish on this. I think yields are going to continue to go up because the market, the bonds market, is going to be essentially pricing in what on earth the market's going to do. The bonds market thinks the Fed is going to be more hawkish. They're making it very clear, and that in turn is likely going to lead to more downside for the overall market. So with that said and done, I just want to say that I appreciate every single one of you that's watching these videos. I want to note that it's very important that we remain as cautious as possible. And please note that the market is due for a small bounce, in my opinion, probably this week. Once again, on the RSI, we have a bullish divergence that's still developing, right? The market was downtrending. The RSI is on an uptrend. I think we're seeing this on the MACD. No, actually, we're not seeing it so much on it, but you get my point. We're likely going to see this divergence play out. Market bounces. I don't think it's going to be a big bounce. I think we're only going to get to about 401 to 402. I don't see us breaking 402. That would be very unlikely unless there's some super big news. But considering how hawkish the Fed is going to be, considering how much they're going to be raising rates, I think the market's going to bounce, try to fill the gaps up here, get to that 401-ish area. Then we see a big rejection later on, maybe this week, maybe going into next week, and see even more downside, and we start breaking to new lows. I think we're most likely going to do that because of the Fed. I also predict that by the second week of March, when CPI comes out, it's going to be a little bit on the hot side. So I want to make that clear, guys. I do apologize for everything that's going on right now. I know that a lot of people are very concerned and they're kind of unhappy about how the market was performing over the last few weeks. But I want to make it very clear to everyone that this is not necessarily the end of the world. And we have to remain as cool as possible, okay? So please, guys, I want the best for everyone. Remain calm, cool, and collected. Do what you have to do. And I'll most definitely see you guys in the next video. The market's to the moon because the long-term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.